One and a half, one, go. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April 11, 2023 edition of the Basalt Town Council meeting. Judging from the turnout here, this looks like maybe the biggest social event in the valley tonight, so this is good to see everybody. So we will begin our meeting with a call to order, but before we do that, I just want to refresh everyone's memory about how to call in. So if you're watching this on TV, you may access the town council meetings at www.basalt.net. And under the agendas and minutes tab, click on the April 11th, 23 meeting packet to open. On the meeting access instructions page, click on the link to join the webinar. You'll go into a waiting room and our town clerk will admit you, and you can address council if you'd like to do that virtually. So with that, I would like to call the meeting to order and do a roll call.
Alrighty, sir. Let us begin with Ryan Slack.
Here.
Elise Hoddle.
Present.
Good night.
Here.
Glenn Drummond.
Here.
Dieter Schindler is out. And Bill Kane.
Here.
And Angela's joining us back. Thank you. Good to see you.
Bienvenido. Good to see you. Okay, thank you for that. The first order of business is a approval of a consent agenda, which is pretty busy. It consists of actually 6 items. Minutes from, March 28th, and a special events activity permit for motors at Willits on May 20th. Resolution number 14, which is a resolution town council approving an agreement with Summit Sweeping and Asphalt Maintenance. And then we have Arbor Day proclamation and Earth Day events, Chris Beazer. And we are going to continue a public hearing until April 25th. That's Jimbo's, that's Jimbo's Liquors. And then we will continue to May 9th, a public hearing and first reading of Ordinance 2, which is a series of building code amendments with sustainable building regulations. So if any councilor would like to pull any of those items off for further discussion, please indicate now. If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve consent.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Just for the record, on the special event activity permit for motors at Willits.
Yeah.
We're very excited that you guys are still holding it, and thank you for bearing with us on needing to move it. And I also just want to say for the rest of the community that the intention is not to permanently move it. It's just a one-time thing. And I just want to reinforce that we are hoping to see it return to Motors at Midland next year.
Yeah, we're going to say motors on Midland, although Midland is not actually here. It's it's here. So we didn't want to do that. So anyway, it'll be fun. And the streets are all going to be closed, pedestrianized. It looks like it's going to be a really fun event. So thanks for that important clarification.
Mayor, I move that the town council approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second. Okay, moved and seconded. Mr. Counselor, can we do with the resolution on there, do we want to do a roll call?
Yes, you can.
Do a roll call.
No one's participating virtually, so we're all set to,
Okay, so.
you can approve it by a voice vote.
Okay, great. So with that, I would please, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got through that one. Next order of business is our call to the public. So anybody calling in virtually or in attendance tonight, this is your chance to address the town council on any item which is actually not on the agenda for specific discussion later on in the evening. So, so we always encourage you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you run over 3 minutes, you got to deal with this gentleman right here, which I don't recommend. And then identify yourself by name and address when making comments. Comments should be courteous, civil, and constructive. And town council will make no decision or take action other than direct the town manager. So with that, I would open the podium for anyone that would like to address town council tonight on any matter not on the agenda tonight. Yes, Susan? Is that Susan? Yeah. Okay, okay.
Good, thank you. I'm Sandy Kaharchak. I live on 100 Midland Avenue over on Twin Rivers condo. Mayor Kane, it's good to see you all. Thank you and the council for supporting the Basalt Beautification Project. I believe it will put Old Town Basalt on the map as a blueprint for many other small towns in Colorado. I really do. It's fantastic. I urge you and the council to not bend to a few negative opinions from a very vocal minority about the parallel parking on Midland Avenue. The principal idea is to make Old Town Basalt a place where people can sit, eat outside, walk easily, safely in town, and enjoy a tranquil visit while shopping on Midland. Please do not alter the designed parking because of a few business complaints. I live on Midland Spur. There will be ample parking down our street. It takes me 30 seconds to walk to Butch's, Heirlooms, and Tempranillo's restaurant. I have also heard that some businesses want to be compensated for any loss of revenue because of construction on Midland. As a taxpayer, I voted for this project. I am very happy to pay for it. However, I do not want to subsidize businesses because they may lose a little profit while the work is being done. This project is going to increase their business's bottom line in the long run and is actually designed so these restaurants and businesses are more accessible. This is a pro-business project and a win-win for everyone on Midland. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. Sorry for calling you Susan. It was long distance, and anyone else like to come up? Warwick?
Thanks, Bill. Warwick Mowbray, we've got the Asmeld and the Frying Pan River Lodge. I just want to bring a couple of points. First, my wife and I, we've got businesses in 4 jurisdictions in Colorado. In 3 of the jurisdictions, they use a software program for sales tax called MuniRevs. Here, all the paperwork's just done by hand. I don't know if any of you know anything about that, but it's incomplete here. And I don't know why the town here doesn't adopt MuniRevs. It works far more efficiently, and the system you use here actually calls for an understating of revenue because it doesn't identify exempt accommodation. So I think you should look at that. Yeah. Secondly, I've just, in relation to this project that's going ahead, I understand that the sewer line project is actually complete in the next couple of days. So this development that's going on, it's talked a lot about the urgency of the sewer line. That's actually complete. And I got an email confirming that on Friday, which means that there's only 2 real issues. One's a water line that's 100 years old, and it's only, 100-year lifespan, but it's only 60 to 80 years old. So there doesn't seem to be anything urgent about the water line being done in the next 3 or 4 months. So beyond that, I don't think there's any urgency with the project, given the press for a number of businesses to at least postpone it for so they can get the benefit of the coming season. Final point, I don't know if any of you note Federal Reserve reports, but last Friday the Federal Reserve issued a paper called H8, which indicates the number of loans that are issued by banks, and especially regional banks. And last Friday's report indicated the biggest collapse in granting of loans and loan standards in the last 2 weeks of March since they kept records from 1973. And that, when I talk about that, it's not esoteric. That applies to Community Bank, Alpine Bank, and all the local banks in this area and everywhere. And so to the extent that this project, the lady before commented about lose a few profits, I think there may be a far bigger issue involved, because it'll be a reputational issue. People just will not come if they're aware that there are roadworks going on. So just for the record, I just wanted to reference that Federal Reserve report, and it's only had 2 weeks, and it's only the start, and we don't know how tight credit will get, and I don't know how these businesses have organised themselves, but If they get negatively hurt and they can't get support from their bankers or whomever, they'll be out of business. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Yeah, well, that's good, good warning, for sure.
Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes,
respond to
go ahead,
one
Ryan.
thing there? With regard to Muni Revs, which is a great program, I believe that Muni Revs is for self-collected sales tax, and we are state collected. So it may be that the other three jurisdictions collect themselves. I don't know that the state has that, but we're happy to look into it. We've been implementing some other softwares this year, and anything that can make it more
Yeah.
efficient, we're happy to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, the comments about regional banking are definitely well taken, and our CFO is kind of all over it and well aware of the, condition of area banks, and so bears watching. But unfortunately, it bears watching along with about 8 other things, like, the preferred rate, and it won't be addressed again until May. So, we've got a lot to watch and worry about here. So thanks, though, for that remark. Anyone else? Ted?
I'll start my own time.
We got one up here going.
No, his is louder than
You
mine.
got 16 seconds.
I want to change up a little bit. I'm Ted Guy, Swinging Bridge Lane, been here since '78. First, I want to thank Ryan and Chris, the forester. I live over on Swinging Bridge Lane. You guys are tearing up the pedestrian path, adding trees, irrigation. No one ever talked to us. I was told Monday morning that all the trees were being cut down. I called Ryan, he was in a meeting, he got Chris out there right away. It was misinformation, we're not cutting down trees. So I want to say thank you.
Great.
Also, what I want to do is I want to talk about what I do support for the Midland Avenue streetscape. I do support the storm drainage in the center of Midland Avenue. I do support a new water line and consolidation of the shallow utilities. I also support replacing and consolidating existing sidewalks, especially those bizarre sidewalks by Sotheby's and the Pot Shop. But I don't think that they need to be 12 feet wide. 4 to 5 feet is more than adequate. I support raised pedestrian crossings that serve as speed bumps. I think they're essential because this is a through street. It's not a dead end. I also support keeping the diagonal parking and converting what head-in parking we have into diagonal. I feel diagonal is safer than the head-in. And unfortunately, I disagree with Sandy. Losing 22 parking spaces will harm downtown, not just this summer, but forever. That's all the parking from Alpine Bank to Skips on the south side. That's 22 spaces. That's a whole lot of spaces, and a lot of those people will be gone forever. I do support the fall, winter, spring utility replacement and sidewalk replacement. I also now do not support adding islands and trees in the center of the street, just snow removal in the winter and additional shading and ice due to the shading from the trees. I just think we should leave those alone. And I do support keeping the loading zone in the middle. I do question, and Michelle and I have talked about this and we'll continue to talk, why the new water line has to be on the south side. She gave me a map today. It shows the gas line 10 feet away from the water line. There is no restriction on gas lines, and I believe that the new water line could be placed north of the existing water line. And hopefully we'll get some answers to that tomorrow night. Last, I questioned the spending of $28,000 for a fountain with a dog watering bowl.
They're very nice dogs we have in Basalt.
I like dogs, but
Anyone else like to address council matter not on the agenda for further discussion tonight? All right, thank you very much. That concludes our call to the public. We have time for mayor or council reports or comments. Anybody on council like to comment? I'll kick it off. I know Elise was there too, so maybe others went because it was kind of an open house, but Brian and Elise and I attended the Basalt High School seniors capstone presentations, and it was really fun, and it was really impressive to see kids thinking about where they're going to go in life, and the projects are really worthwhile, and I think it's sort of in its infancy and is going to grow in prestige and importance for kids, so I think it's a really great thing for the community to support. It was a good evening to see these guys thinking about the future, so. You went too?
I did.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was
Good.
great. Yeah, it was nice to see a wide array of ideas and future plans and some really excited students.
Young guy there is building a computer, 17 years old, and he's building a pretty high-capacity, high-speed computer, so pretty much fun. Anyone else? All right, thanks. So, excuse me, I'm still got a cough. The manager's report, do you want to offer anything tonight? Right.
Yeah, I do have a couple quick things here. So the first thing is, as of today, loaded onto the Let's Talk Basalt site, we do have a frequently asked questions handout, and so these were collected from a lot of different just questions we've been getting along the way. And I think it covers everything from infrastructure to parking, like we just heard, and timing, and so I think it's fairly comprehensive. So it's a nice document that planning and Mitzi, who's been helping us with communication, put out. Along those same lines, tomorrow evening at the library, there is an open house for Midland Avenue, and this is a public open house. That's from 5 to 7, correct? And so that'll be a similar, sort of a similar format to what we had with the businesses, where we'll have staff and I believe the contractors will be there and be able to answer questions and get a little more clarity on the project. So that should be good. The third thing here is the logo project. So that is moving ahead. I'm pretty excited about where we are with it. Last week we met with the steering committee, and we had 9 options. They got whittled down to 5. Those 5 are all being sort of retooled a bit based on the comments from the steering committee. This week, the steering committee will get those 5 returned, and then they'll vote for the top 3. Those top 3 will go on to Let's Talk Basalt next week to get some input from the public, and then we will bring a final recommendation to council at our April meeting, which I think is the 25th of April. So pretty exciting. That's moving ahead quickly. And if just a couple updates on the existing construction. So the paving was occurring today and tomorrow. They will be pulling off of that project, and it'll be 100% complete, which was an on-time and within budget project. So we're happy about that. The interesting thing that I heard from Catherine today was that was the first paving project in the valley this year. So it was supposed to be paved starting yesterday, but Frontier Paving was having to start up their batch plant. So they got out there today, and it'll be out. All the equipment will be out, and that road will be back open permanently. And then lastly, if you haven't seen the progress on Midland Spur, that's been pretty interesting to watch over the last week. And they're currently working on the new retaining wall that's going to help us to add some parking spaces into that section. So pretty good work, and we're happy to see the progress. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Great, hey, thanks, Ryan. Any questions for our manager? All right, with that, we'll turn to council actions. First of which is a public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5.
Mr. Mayor, I think we skipped over item 6A, presentations.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good catch. Sorry, Miles Johnson and capstone project presentation, so, sorry, guys.
So if it's okay, I'll introduce Miles.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Miles is a riding buddy. He was on the high school mountain bike team, and I have gotten to ride with him and his dad, who's out here in the audience. And so Miles approached the town, which he'll talk about. I don't want to steal too much of what he's going to say, but approached the town about a capstone project and installation of some bike infrastructure, I'll say for the moment, and asked for donations. So he was able to collect donations from a few different places, and the condition for the town's contribution was that he come and let the town know what the money was put toward. So Miles is a senior, and this is one of his final big projects, and we're happy to have him here tonight. So Miles, James here has your project PowerPoint up there, and you can just let him know when you want to advance the slide.
Got it. Thank you, Ryan. Like Ryan said, my name is Miles Johnson. I'm a senior at Basalt High School. I want to thank Mayor Kane and the rest of Town Council for giving
Miles,
me,
could you pull that mic over closer to you so everybody wants to hear you? So, there you
for
go.
giving me the opportunity to present my capstone today. Next slide. First off, what is a capstone? Capstone project is a requirement by the Roaringport School District that seniors must complete a self-guided project that explores an interest or a curiosity, and it also must benefit the community. This could be hosting a sports clinic or volunteering at an animal shelter. To complete that, you need to work closely with the community expert who helps guide and assist you throughout your project. At the end of the project, you develop skills that you can use later in life. And last but not least is to have fun. The capstone project should be something that you're truly passionate about and that you are interested in. Next slide, please. So for my project, I fundraised money to install a public bike pump at the Basalt Regional Library. I wanted to do this to make biking more accessible and encourage others to ride their bike more. When I first joined the bike team, the Basalt High School bike team, I found a close-knit community that was super supportive and I enjoyed being a part of. Next slide. So the process. So Gary Tenenbaum was my community expert. He helped me pick out locations, and we ended up deciding on the library. And he gave me contact information for Kathy Click, who I reached out to, and she was super excited about my project. After she agreed to let me install a pump there, I researched different types of pumps. I wanted something that was durable, easy to use, and came in different colors. I then started to fundraise to cover the $900 cost of the pump. I definitely wanted a bike shop to support me, so I reached out to Basalt Bike and Ski, and they agreed to cover 1/3 of the cost. I then reached out to my neighbor, Chris Severson at Reese Emery Accounting, who I ride with quite often, and he agreed to cover another 1/3. I then reached out to Ryan, who I've ridden with a couple of times, and realized that the town of Basalt would be a great final donor. After that, I worked with Kathy to dial in the best location. We ended up deciding on the east location, which has more space, is visible from Midland Avenue, and visible from the Lee Cycle Station. Last thing to do was install the pump. My dad helped me with it, and it ended up being easier than expected. We had to borrow a hammer drill from a friend and drill 4 3-inch deep holes in the concrete and install 4 lag bolts. Next slide, please. Here are some more photos of me installing the pump. Next slide. I want to give a special thanks to Basalt Bike and Ski, the town of Basalt, and Chris Severson at Reese Emery. Also Gary Tenenbaum for helping me out throughout this project. Kathy Click at the library for being easy to work with and as enthusiastic as I was. And Ryan Mahoney for getting the town's support.
Great.
I hope that Basalt continues to be a bike-friendly town, and I hope that this pump serves the town well, and for many years on. Thank you for your time.
Great, thanks, Miles. Nice job. One question, though, before you go.
You thought
You
you'd
keep-
get away.
Can you keep up with Mr. Mahoney?
Oh, gosh.
I'm putting that very diplomatically.
Not on the downhills.
Good answer.
Great. Well, thanks for the presentation. It's really wonderful to see, and, just, we'll, at the town level, stay involved with Capstone, I'm sure, over the years, and make sure it grows and flourishes, because it's a great program.
Cool, thank you again.
Thanks for your efforts. Yep.
Good job, Miles.
Now, council actions. So the first order of business is a public hearing and first reading, ordinance number 5 of series of 2023, Town Council, Basalt, Colorado, granting river setback waivers at 40 River Court. So, James?
Yeah, thank you. This is a public hearing and first reading of an ordinance that would approve of an application submitted by Michael and Kimberly Tates, who are represented this evening by Kevin Michelson, for river setback waivers from the 50-foot river setback requirement in the town code. And it's to construct a porch roof over an existing at-grade deck on the riverside of the house at 40 River Cove, and to construct a second-floor deck over the existing at-grade deck on the riverside of the residence. The property is a single-family residence that was built in oh, shoot, what happened?
1991.
Let me close that and see. There we go. Apologize for that. So the property is a single-family residence that was built in 1991, and it's on the River Cove cul-de-sac. It's this property right here. It backs up to the Frying Pan River and was constructed in compliance with the 30-foot river setback that was required at the time the house was built. The river setback by the town was subsequently changed to 50 feet. And so the house was built to 30 foot. The proposal, as noted, is a request for waivers from the 50-foot river setback for the construction of a porch roof, as well as the second floor deck above the existing at-grade deck that's on the river side of the house. The existing at-grade deck was constructed to the 30-foot river setback that was in place at the time the house was built. The review process for a river setback waiver or exemption requires the Planning and Zoning Commission to make a recommendation to the Town Council. And the criteria that the review is based on includes that findings would need to be made that the river setback requirements impose an unreasonable hardship not created by the property owner or applicants, and that there is no reasonable alternative to the waiver, and that any impacts on the environmentally sensitive area will be mitigated appropriately. And then there is also code language that allows for community benefits, such as improvements to riparian habitat, and establishment of fishermen's easements to be considered in exchange for granting waivers from the river setbacks. In this case, there's already a fisherman's easement that's in place, so it would be other community benefits that would be considered. In reviewing the request, the applicants made an argument that the porch roof is needed to alleviate drainage issues from the roof. And you can see here that the current circumstances require that they're creating damage on the structure from current drainage issues from the roof. So the Planning and Zoning Commission thought that the request for the porch roof was a reasonable request and a reasonable method of mitigating the water damage issue that they were having, and that there was going to be no impact on the environmentally sensitive area as it was proposed directly over the existing deck that is in place. Regarding the river setback waiver for the second floor deck, the Planning and Zoning Commission recognized that it wouldn't harm any impact on the stream margin area, as it would also be located over the existing deck. And as was noted, there is language that allows for community benefit in exchange for a waiver. So staff checked in with the Roaring Fork Conservancy, as we do with every proposal that's along the river and related to the river. And the Conservancy suggested that the most community benefit that could be derived would be gained by shifting from a bluegrass that currently exists, as you can see in the backyard, to a low water fescue turf and doing a replacement of that. The low water fescue turf is what the library did and replaced in their area adjacent to the library. So it looks just like grass, but it is much better in terms of water use than regular bluegrass. And so the P&Z was supportive of the waiver requests with the benefit that they would change out the bluegrass in the backyard for this fescue turf that uses much less water. And the P&Z provided conditions requiring that, and those conditions have been carried over to the draft ordinance that you have in your packet. So this evening, staff would suggest hearing from the applicant, taking public comments because it is a public hearing, and providing council discussion. As noted, the ordinance does include conditions requiring the change out of the bluegrass in the rear of the residence to this low water fescue turf, and the applicants have indicated that they would agree to that. It should be noted that the code section requires at least 5 affirmative votes from the council, so it's a little different than just your regular supermajority that's required by most code actions. So this evening we do have the applicants with us. Kevin Michelson is here. Kevin, do you have any comments for the council?
No, I don't have any comments. Thanks, James, for summarizing our application very well. And we think it's a reasonable request, and we just kind of want to fix this water damage that's going on the wall and make the house perhaps a little more attractive at the same time, and swap out the grass to something that uses less water.
Right, just out of curiosity, so you're gonna, now this water that's coming off the upper, shed roof will, or it's not a shed roof, but pitch roof will come onto this flat deck. What happens to that water? Where do you have a downspout and a?
That's one of the conditions in the ordinance to determine where that's going to go, and we're going to need to get a civil engineer involved, and there's a couple of different solutions. I would expect either a retention pond or a dry well or something along that nature. I couldn't tell you without talking to a civil engineer first.
Yeah, staff has included a condition that they would have to get a drainage solution.
Fair enough. So, questions, council?
Public hearing.
See if there are any comments from the public. So, this is a public hearing, so anybody that's calling in remotely, feel free to call in and address council. Anybody in the audience that would like to comment on the application? Fine, hearing none, I think we can probably close the public hearing portion of this. See if there's any discussion or questions. Is
Do we have to specify which alternative, whether it's 4B or 4A?
Well, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the, 4B that required that they replace the fescue turf, so that's been carried over into your ordinance. So if you agree with that, you could just make a motion on that.
Mayor, I move that town council approve ordinance number 5, series of 2023 on first reading, continue and set the public hearing and second reading for May 9th, 2023.
For a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Pam, please call the roll.
All righty, let's begin with David Knight,
Yes.
Elise Huddle,
Yes.
Ryan Slack,
Yes.
Bill Kane,
Yes.
Angela Anderson,
Yes.
and Glenn Drummond.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, guys. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tate's here? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fire chief back there.
Oh, they're here.
Oh, that Mike is, evening. You were very quiet. We thought we'd get you up here and roast you a little bit.
I was told to be. Just following direct.
So next order of business is a public hearing and first reading ordinance number 6, series of 23, ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, approving an amendment to the Basalt River Park Development Final Plan application on Lot 1 of the Basalt Community Campus subdivision. Sarah and James. This is a housing matter, as far as I remember.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Mr. Mayor.
Chief. Thank you for turning out.
All right, as you mentioned, this is public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 6, series of 2023. This is a request for an amendment to the CSC Zone District's final plan approval for the River Park development at 22860 Two Rivers Road. We have the applicants here today. They have received permission from the owners, which is the Roaring Fork Community Development Corporation and Basalt River Park LLC. So we have representation here. Tom Newland is handling the case, and representation from the Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority with Chief Scott Thompson, as well as Mary Boyd of Colorado Mountain College, and you can hear from them after my presentation here. So again, the request is to seek an amendment in order to change the occupancy priority for the 4 Category 2 affordable housing units that are located in the mixed-use gallery building. And James, if you just want to, I just kind of threw up a slide to take the tension off of me for a second and show you where the gallery building is. I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with that location. The applicants are also requesting a waiver from the Category 2 income and asset levels when the units would be occupied by employees of the applicants' organizations. We are talking about 4 total units. There's 2 2-bedrooms and 2 3-bedroom units in this building. Probably very familiar with the history. It's not too long ago that the Basalt River Park development received final plan approval through council, or by council through ordinance 6, series of 2020. And this is when the 4 Category 2 affordable housing units were approved at the gallery building. They are approved at a Category 2 rate, and the approval stated that employees that are full-time employees of the River Park development would have first occupancy priority for those units, followed by the occupancy priority that's set forth within the town's community housing guidelines. And furthermore, these occupants would be required to meet the town's income and asset requirements that are associated with that Category 2 level of housing. So in this proposal, the applicants have residential as well as associated commercial units under contract pending the outcome of the request. The change of occupancy requested would allow the applicants, the CMC and Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority, first occupancy priority to their employees, as well as a waiver from those income and asset restrictions that are associated with that Category 2 requirements while occupied by their employees. The affordable housing units, the applicants are noting that these are pretty vital to the recruitment and retention and as a tool for their respective organizations. The units could be used to recruit employees within a vast salary range, depending on the need of the organization at the time. Hence the the request for the waiver from the income and asset requirements associated with that Category 2 deed restricted housing. Both of these organizations, I'm sure you're very familiar with, they have a presence within our town. Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority, of course, provides emergency services from Elgibel through Snowmass Village. There's stations in Elgibel and, of course, across from the elementary school and middle school campuses. And CMC provides educational opportunities throughout the valley as well as the state, and they've had a long-time presence in the Basalt Middle School running their English as a Second Language, the ESL program there. So CMC is looking to have a greater presence in Basalt and does intend to occupy the adjacent commercial spaces adjacent to those affordable housing units. And if the applicants are unable to fill the units with their employees after a period of 21 days, the proposal is that the priority will default to the structure that was approved in that 2020 approval. So we start with the full-time employees of the Basalt River Park, and then it progresses down through the occupancy priorities outlined in the town's community housing guidelines. Regarding rental rates, each of these applicants do have a different scenario that's unique to their organization. They have proposed rental rates for the units that satisfy the town's maximum Category 2 rental rates. So they're beneath that maximum allowed Category 2. The applicants would qualify their tenant, of course. The town, it would kind of be shifted over to the town to have the final oversight to know who is occupying those affordable housing units. So we would be ensuring that they do not exceed that town's Category 2 maximum rental rate. So there's a little, little check in there. So regarding how this was reviewed, staff has reviewed the proposal against numerous code as well as master plan items. We found it to be consistent with the CSC zone district, which does allow for incentives and mitigation reductions that encourage nonprofit organizations in achieving community goals. And staff finds that providing priority housing to emergency responders as well as educators to be advantageous to the Basalt community. We found a number of items that we find consistent with the 2020 Basalt Master Plan, and I am happy to get into any of these in greater detail, but just to kind of list them out, and they're found, of course, in staff's memo. Goal number 1.5 is promoting all-inclusive education and continuum of learning for all ages. Goal 2.1 is to provide housing that serves residents across a range of demographics, incomes, as well as collective needs. Goal 2.4 promotes the delivery of community services that meet the needs of families and individuals at an attainable price. Goal number 7 is to create a balanced economy of sustainable economic growth that provides a broad range of job opportunities and goods and services for local residents and visitors. And lastly, goal 7.3 is to make Basalt the model of a mountain community that can compete in the economy of the future. We find the proposal also to meet the Category 2 rental rates, as I previously stated, and that it's consistent with the requirement of providing housing mitigation. That portion of the code does allow for the town council to assess, waive, or partially waive community housing mitigation requirements by government, quasi-government agencies as deemed appropriate and to promote broader community goals. They're not, of course, asking to remove the requirement. These will still remain deed-restricted units. However, it does remove that requirement for the income and asset requirement for their employees alone. Regarding referrals, the application was referred out to the Basalt Affordable Community Housing Group, or BAC. At the time, there was no quorum, unfortunately, so they were unable to make a formal recommendation. But the BAC members present did provide feedback in support of the application. And it was also reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their March 7th meeting last month. And after much discussion, the P&Z did provide unanimous recommendation of approval to the Town Council for this application. So I will hand it over momentarily to the applicants. Staff has drafted an ordinance for Council's consideration with the condition that they would be required to submit an updated deed restriction that would be, of course, reviewed by our attorney, reviewed by staff, accepted, and then filed with the Eagle County Clerk and Recorder. So we recommend hearing from the applicants. This is a public hearing, so recommend opening this up to the public for any comments. ask questions or additional information of staff that you'd like to see, know now or see at the second reading. And we do recommend that you approve Ordinance 6, Series of 2023 at first reading, and continue and schedule the second reading for April 25th of this month. And with that, I will turn it over to Tom Newland.
Thank you, Sarah. Tom Newland of Newland Project Resources. I'm representing the applicants in this matter. That was a very comprehensive oration there on the application. I really don't have any technical thing to add. However, I would like my clients to come up and just talk a little bit about the purpose and need and why they're here today. That's Chief Thompson from the Fire District and
Mary Wood.
Hi.
Hi.
From CMC. You guys sit up here and I'll listen back here.
My pager went off, I could have left.
Yeah. Evening, Chief, welcome.
Thank you.
Did you want to add anything or
No,
comment?
well, yes. It was envisioned that the art base would take this space. The developer approached the fire authority and then approached CMC. I think it's a perfect match. It's gonna get teachers, it's gonna get firefighters and paramedics in our community. We're in dire need. The fire authority has, this is gonna be 18th and 19th units that we have. Currently we have 6 already that we've shown that work in the Basalt town limits. So we're hoping that the deed restrictions were the only thing that really caused angst to us, and it's about people qualifying and how much they make. We start our paramedics, well, the mid-range for a paramedic firefighter is $85,000, so they would not qualify for the deed restriction on those units. So that was the only thing that concerned us. We hope that can answer the questions and turn it over to Mary. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're similarly situated. CMC, my role at CMC is CFO for the college and in charge of fiscal affairs. So have been involved certainly on the financial side of our housing efforts. And we are extending both apartment housing for students at 4 of our campuses right now, and then embarking on employee housing in this valley in particular. We've bought our first unit in Glenwood a few months ago. This would be our second acquisition of real estate that we're working on for employee housing. And so we're just starting our program, but really have a structure that sort of reflects the amount of income that an employee receives at CMC. So we have a median income of our employees of approximately $76,000. Most of our faculty are just above that. And, but we have employees at 60% of that, 80% of that, and so forth. So we sort of have charted rent rates that we were envisioning charging based off that median income. So this will be affordable housing, but similar to the fire district, we just felt that those restrictions would not enable us to really reach whichever employee is in need at the moment in time that there's a unit available, which is sort of how a dynamic housing program will need to work for us.
Very good. All right, questions of council?
Should we do a public
How will
hearing
you guys
first?
decide who, like within your organization, how do you guys decide who gets to qualify for housing? Do you have a lottery? What's the process?
So the fire authority uses tenure certifications. That would be the highest rating to rate the employees. The other thing is we use it to bring people in. So not only retention, but actually to, we brought in a training chief one time and put him in the Willits unit in Block 7. So, you know, they can't afford to buy something here, so it's a great tool to be able to get different employees.
And CMC will have a lottery. So with our first unit that we've just recently filled, we established a deadline, put out communication to all of the employees, all of current applicants that, potential new employees as well. Deadline to submit interest, sort of an application that they have to show that they have enough dependents to qualify for a 3-bedroom unit and so forth, and then do a lottery drawing from those applicants.
How many applicants did you have on your Glenwood unit?
3. we had a very short window for opening it. We closed over the holiday break, and so it was a pretty short window that we allowed.
And are you guys a for-profit university or public?
No, we're a government entity, so we have a mill levy and are funded mostly by property tax.
So how are the units being divvied up? Are you each taking 2 units? And
We're
each take,
purchasing both of the 3 bedrooms, and they're purchasing both of the 2 bedrooms.
so the fire district's taking 2 3-bedrooms and you're taking 2 2s?
Two 2 bedrooms, 2 3 bedrooms.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
Sarah, I have some background questions I was hoping you could clarify. So first of all, just for our reminder, category 2 corresponds to what % of AMI?
It's 100% of AMI.
Thank you, I was gonna
It is, okay.
bust it out of my notes. Thank you, James.
And then, just again for a reminder, there's some new folks here, including myself, came on after all of the approvals for Basalt River Park development. The affordable housing units, were they always intended to be for sale?
James, can you answer that? He actually took it through the process.
I think we still have ours, right? Or does the town get affordable housing units, or are these the only 4?
No, there's 4.
These are the 4 that are category units. There are also 8 that are RO units, basically, in the gallery building. The units originally, when they were going through the development process, were supposed to be rental units to employees, but the developer could sell them to organizations to rent them to their employees, is the way the deed restrictions were set up. So similar to what is happening in this case.
So what is 100% of AMI, just so everybody has a clear picture? Yeah. In a dollar value.
100% of AMI for one person in a unit.
$78,300.
There's a breakdown on page 4 of staff's memo for the category 2
Category 2, maximum income.
maximum
for
rental rates.
1 bedroom would be 74,000. 2 bedroom would be basically 85,000. 3 bedroom would be 95.
Other questions before we go see if there's any public comment?
I just wanted to say,
Go
I
ahead,
think this is what success looks like, I think, from an employee housing standpoint. And I was honestly curious about the waivers and like what the rationale was. And I think, just listening to everything here, the flexibility and the reality of what wages are and where the category 2 is and which we probably need to continue to talk about that in a broader conversation. But it makes sense from a flexibility for retention or recruitment and retention. And I don't see any other way you could make it work. So I think, I'm supportive of this.
The waivers basically are null and void in the event that the unit is sold to a non-staff member of either CMC or the fire district.
Correct.
Sounds fair.
What happens if the unit sells?
Still stays category 2.
So
That's
it reverts
correct.
back to category 2 if they were to sell the unit for some reason?
Right, this is just specific to these applicants. It does not follow the unit itself.
It wasn't, I thought I read in there somewhere that if the owner was kind of the same quasi-government nonprofit, that they had the same waiver, same kind of first right of refusal. Is that not correct?
It would revert back to the 2020 approval, and so this is pretty specific to these applicants. They would have to come in and apply for something like that.
It would go back to category 2.
It would just go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys don't plan on selling these, obviously, anytime soon.
We want a dozen more.
Yeah.
Do you have,
we don't need housing, we're fine. That would be an unusual conclusion.
sorry, does CMC have commercial space under contract?
Well, the office,
That's what I mean.
yeah, we're planning to acquire both the two pieces. It's one room that would be 4 pieces, so our 2 pieces, and then we plan to purchase their 2 pieces and make one space that will be operated similar to our Mortgage Common space in Glenwood Springs, if anyone's familiar with that. And potentially some classroom, you know, it would be multi-purpose use, but sort of one open space, high technology, interactive technology and whatnot, for community use and education use.
So kind of like a remote student union that other people could use too? Is that, like you come in there or what?
Student union, not necessarily. So Mortgage Commons is our space in downtown Glenwood Springs above the library. So we have groups come and have meetings there.
Okay, so it's
so meeting space and education space.
not a drop-in type?
Not a
thing.
drop-in,
Okay,
no.
gotcha.
I mean, I think there would be a grouping of nonprofits in the Basalt area that probably would use it most regularly. And then our Carbondale campus or our Aspen campus could have offerings here in Basalt.
Okay.
All right, it's a public hearing. Anybody in the audience or would like to call in remotely to comment on ordinance number 5? Appears not, so I would entertain either any further questions or a motion.
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 6, series of 2023 on first reading, continue and set the public hearing and second reading for April 25th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Pam?
Absolutely. Let us begin with Angela Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Drummond,
Yes.
Elise Hoddle,
Yes.
Ryan Slack,
Yes.
Bill Kane,
Yes.
and David Knight.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So we'll see you at the second reading. All right, next item is resolution number 15, series of 2023, resolution of Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, authorizing a grant application by the town to the State Colorado Department of Local Affairs Energy and Mineral Impact Assistant Funds for broadband infrastructure. Catherine, good to see you.
Yes, good to see you.
This is a great idea, so I think there'll be a lot of enthusiasm for this. Why don't you tell us what you're doing?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Council. So tonight we're bringing to you a resolution that would show Town Council's support of a grant application to that DOLA's Energy and Mineral Impact Assistance Grant Fund. We've received some funding through this fund historically, both for our Public Works building and our solar project. As part of the Midland Avenue Streetscape project, the designed HEMIS included infrastructure for broadband, both conduit and vaults that would be available to the town, Pickens County, and other internet service providers, so that our downtown core would have access to reliable internet, broadband, high-speed internet from multiple users. And then it also piggybacks on Pickens County's work. They've done a lot of work with Holy Cross Energy, creating this kind of backbone, if you will, broadband infrastructure up and down the valley. And then in their work, they have a few kind of spin-off projects, that being in Snowmass Village, another one in Basalt. And one of the gaps in their system is from their project, which terminates essentially at the four-way intersection with Two Rivers Road and Midland Avenue, providing town hall, broadband infrastructure, but there's a gap between that and the Frying Pan River Valley, where largely those users are underserved or not served at all by broadband infrastructure. So it's kind of twofold. The infrastructure that we'd install in part of the Midland project would serve our businesses and residents in the downtown core, and then also provide that gap for the county. So we worked with Stutz and Gerbaz on breaking out the prices associated with that broadband piece itself as part of the Midland project, and we're seeking funding from DOLA for 50% of those costs. And then we've also have Pickens County committing at least $50,000 to this portion of the project, so they're a partner and see the benefit as well. And we've been meeting with them regularly on their other projects and are excited about this as well. So yeah, we would just ask tonight that you consider the resolution in front of you and and support that and support our grant application to DOLA for some additional funding of that portion of the Midland project.
And this money would be encumbered specifically for broadband infrastructure.
Right, it's specific to that. And another partner, just for your information, that we have on the project is we're looking at including some significant portion of underground dry utility infrastructure that would serve Holy Cross. And so Holy Cross is committed to funding that infrastructure wholly. We wouldn't be, there would be no matching requirement from the town's point, but just to let you know, we are, that's another area where we're seeking support financially on some of the work that we're doing on Midland.
Is this a matching grant, or it is?
It's a 50% match. That's kind of standard DOLA.
How much are we shooting for?
We're shooting for a little over 158,000 would be what DOLA would match, and then we're able to use the 50,000 we're gaining from Pitkin County to help in our match. So the town would be, committing 108,000. Of course, those were on a 90% pricing exercise. We'll see where pricing comes in on the second phase of the project, but it would be, we'll adjust the grant funding to reflect exactly what we'll end up paying through that bid process, if that makes sense.
Broadband for downtown, that's pretty cool.
Any service provider updates, like besides the duopoly?
We've been having a new provider here that's pretty active down in Willits right now called Pathfinder. So they seem to be interested in expanding their footprint in town. So I think, the model of, open access appears to be working. So we do have a different player out there.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Motion to approve resolution 15.
Mayor, I move the town council adopt resolution number 15, series of 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Pam, I think, or Jeff, we voice vote on this one?
You can do a voice vote.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
One abstention,
Oh,
just because
That's
I
right.
work for Connect One, I think it's just better if I abstain.
and people could misunderstand what connect means in this case. So, okay.
Great.
So one abstention.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks,
you, Mayor.
Catherine. This
Yeah.
looks great. Good luck with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, keep us informed.
Yes.
So, next order is resolution number 16, resolution of Town Council approving the 2023 Pitkin County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Chief, good evening, welcome.
Let me take it?
Yeah.
All right. So, good evening. I'm before you tonight to introduce and present a resolution for the 2023 Pitkin County Hazard Mitigation Plan. So, under FEMA, Federal Emergency Management, communities are required to have an emergency management plan, and they have to be renewed every 5 years. So our last implementation was in 2018 when council approved it. This 2023 hazard mitigation plan is a revision and upgrading of the current plan. It's a collaborative effort amongst all town departments. Thank you to Public Works, Finance, Planning, and along with all the Up Valley agencies. So the major emergency response municipalities all come together and put together a countywide hazard mitigation plan. And what that does is it identifies hazards within your communities. It identifies mitigation efforts that can be done. Nothing in this plan binds us to do those. It's things to work towards. It's a requirement that if you do not have a hazard mitigation plan adopted by each individual jurisdiction, you're not eligible for pre- and post-disaster grants. So when we had Lake Christine in 2018, we had a hazard mitigation plan in place, which allowed us to tap into those funds for mitigation and efforts to protect the community. So tonight, I'm here before you with a resolution to adopt the 2023 Pitkin County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Pitkin County Commissioners adopted it today at their meeting, and then all jurisdictions, participating jurisdictions, will be going before their boards over the next few weeks to do adoption. All of us need to adopt it for it to become in effect by FEMA standards.
Great.
Was there any big change between this plan and 2018's?
No, there's just some identification, like a new phenomena is ice jams on the frying pan over the past 2 years. That's a new thing that we've experienced, and how we can possibly mitigate or monitor those. A new one in there this year is, or for this plan, is a stream gauge on the Frying Pan River at the Pueblo Bridge. And Ryan and I have been, in Public Works, have been working on that. We're getting really close to meeting that mitigation strategy so that we can see those dips in the Frying Pan River, knowing that something is coming, and how we can alert our community members. So there's just a couple additions. The other ones that you'll see in there are ongoing mitigation efforts that we're going to be doing because of the environment that we live in.
Just for everybody else's knowledge, can you explain, like, we've talked about it at the meetings, but Eagle County, Pitkin County, we do Pitkin County, but we're half and half, but it still works.
So having the opportunity to be in 2 counties as a town, I use opportunity as a good word, we can pick to participate in Eagle County's hazard mitigation plan or Pitkin County's, or both. We so closely work with the Pitkin County agencies, and we rely on each other so heavily that it just makes sense to be part of Pitkin County's. It still covers the Eagle County portions of Basalt. We're a municipality. And in the Eagle County Hazard Mitigation Plan, they implement into theirs the Basalt portions for the Pitkin County plan, so it's covered in both. But due to our working relationships and proximity, we go with the Pitkin County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
And those guys are a lot closer.
Yeah.
Closer to home. Well, great. Any additional questions?
Mayor, I move that the town council adopt resolution number 16, series of 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chief.
I think that concludes the affair. Quick question, why is the front running pathetically low? It's not right now, there's some runoff starting to come down right now, but this morning it was running like 43 CFS. It was like the lowest legal release. Are they, what's the?
Greg, do you know? He's asking why the pan is running so low right now?
You would think they would be dumping
higher
water
than normally.
It looked like it was running, 43 or 47 CFS
Yeah,
or something.
they've been, over the past week, they've been moving it up and down, trying to match inflow coming in.
Yeah.
So they're expecting Grudai to fill completely. They're just trying to time that so that they don't have to release so much at one given time. Mr. Miller with Bureau of Reclamation sent out an email, and they are very closely watching those inflows to match the fill rate, and that's what they're doing.
You would think, intuitively, they'd be dumping water right now to start making room for the runoff, which is going to be pretty intense.
They're monitoring the snowtail sites, and it's interesting that snowtail sites at this time of year have snow at them. In past years, we haven't had the snow levels at the snowtail site, so there's a lot up there, and it's that dice game, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and I think the X factor in all of that is it's not just what happens to fill our reservoir. It's they're also trying to figure out what are we going to be sending through the Boosted Tunnel over to the east slope. So it's a fairly complicated thing. It's not just water in, water out. There's that other X factor.
Tim Miller's been good to work with, I think.
He's been very good, yeah. And you notice throughout the winter, they did have increased flows on the frying pan, and that was trying to reduce ice jams and also help stabilize aquatic populations by keeping those flows up. So they brought that reservoir down pretty low, and they're just kind of monitoring it and slowly.
I noticed walking over, we got some runoff starting to show up.
It's changing colors.
Roaring Fork and Frying Pan, so.
But if you look at the Roaring Fork is low for this time of year too.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think we've hit the start of runoff, but I also think that the soils and plants have been so dry that they're absorbing a lot of what's there.
One interesting fact, is Greg finished a grant application today to Healthy Rivers to help pay for this Pueblo Bridge stream gauge monitor, and he educated me on how many tributaries we have below the dam, and it's 8.
8?
Yeah.
Can you name them all?
Greg can. No, a couple of them I hadn't actually even heard of, so that maybe they're a little bit more minor, but.
What's the big one right by the dam, though? That's
Rocky Fork.
Rocky
Yeah.
Fork.
Rocky Fork, yeah.
Taylor Creek.
And then Seven Castles and.
Yeah, you have Frenchman and
Otto?
Otto.
Creek.
There's, they all have the potential to put a lot of water into the frying pan that we don't know it's there because there's no gauges. So it's a great effort between us, back to the stream gauge, between us, Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority, Roaring Fork Conservancy, and Pitkin County to help bridge that gap of data and information.
Yeah. Okay, well, it'll be fun to watch.
Indeed.
See if the park floods.
What's that?
We'll see if the park floods.
Yeah, well, it might.
I saw, in 2011, I saw 2,000 CFS come down the frying pan, and it was, we had water coming up in the parking lot by the old grocery store under artesian pressure. We had little springs popping up. Hydrostatic pressure was amazing. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So we will do this again on the 25th.